Elena Voss had been working at the Frostmore estate for only 3 days, and already her body ached in places she did not know could ache. The mansion was enormous, built from gray stone that had stood for centuries, with hallways that twisted and turned like the roots of an old tree. She was still learning her way around, and on the night everything changed, exhaustion had blurred every door into looking the same as the next. It was past midnight. Elena had just finished her shift, folding towels until her fingers went numb, and she was carrying a fresh stack toward what she believed was the linen closet at the end of the east corridor. Her feet dragged against the polished floor. Her eyes were heavy. She turned the brass handle without thinking twice, pushed the door open, and stepped inside. The room was warm and dimly lit, nothing like the cold storage closet she expected. A fireplace crackled in the corner, heavy curtains framed a tall window, and near that window stood a man she had never seen up close before, though she had heard his name whispered by every servant in the house with a mixture of fear and awe. Damon Ashgrave, the Alpha King. He stood with his back partly turned, shirtless, a stack of papers in one hand, clearly reviewing something important. For one long second, Elena simply stared, her mind refusing to catch up with what her eyes were seeing. Then panic crashed over her all at once. "I am so sorry," she blurted, already stepping backward, the towels nearly slipping from her arms. "Wrong room. I did not mean." She never finished the sentence. Damon turned slowly, and the moment his eyes landed on her, something shifted in the air between them. He went completely still, the papers forgotten in his hand. His nostrils flared slightly, and Elena watched, confused, as his entire posture changed from calm authority to something sharp and alert, like a man who had just been struck by lightning and was still trying to understand what hit him. "Don't move," he said quietly. Elena froze, not because she wanted to obey, but because the command in his voice left no room for argument. Before she could ask why, he was already crossing the room toward her, his steps quick and certain. He reached her in seconds, and gently, but firmly, closed his hand around her wrist. "Please," she whispered, her heart hammering. "I only came in by mistake. I will leave right now, I promise. I did not mean to disturb you." "You are not disturbing me," Damon said, his voice low, almost unsteady, in a way that did not match the stories she had heard about him. "Stay still." Just for a moment. Outside the door, footsteps thundered down the hallway. 2 guards burst in, alarmed by the noise, hands already reaching for their weapons at the sight of a servant standing so close to their king. But Damon lifted a hand without even looking at them. "Leave us," he said. "No one touches her." The guards exchanged a confused glance, but obeyed instantly, closing the door behind them as they left. Elena stood frozen, wrist still gently held, completely lost as to what was happening, or why the most powerful man in the territory was looking at her, as though she were the only person in the world. "What is going on?" she finally managed to ask. "Why won't you let me go?" Damon exhaled slowly, as if steadying himself. "Do you know what a mate is, in pack terms?" Elena shook her head. She was human, or so she had always believed. She had grown up in a small town far from any packlands, raised by an aunt who never spoke about her mother, and she had come to Frostmore simply because it offered steady work and a place to sleep. "I have never scented anyone like this," Damon said, choosing his words carefully, watching her face for any sign of understanding. "Not once, in all my years leading this pack. A mate is a bond, Elena. It is instinct, recognition, something deeper than choice. And the moment you walked through that door, I knew." "Knew what?" "That you are mine," he said simply. "Not by force, not by command, by nature itself." Elena laughed nervously, certain this had to be some strange misunderstanding, or perhaps she was more tired than she realized, and this was all a dream brought on by exhaustion. "I think you have the wrong person. I am nobody. I fold towels for a living." "You are not nobody," Damon said, and something in his tone made her stomach twist. "You may not know what you are yet, but I do." He finally released her wrist, though he did not step away. Instead, he studied her carefully, the way someone studies a puzzle they have been trying to solve for years and have suddenly found the missing piece to. "There is something in your blood," he continued. "I can sense it, even if you cannot." Your scent is not fully human. Somewhere in your past, there is pack blood, dormant, hidden, but real. Elena's mind raced back to fragments of memory, questions she had never gotten answers to. Her aunt's refusal to speak about her mother, the strange silence whenever she asked where she came from. She had always assumed it was simply a painful subject, a mother who had left or passed away too soon to remember. She never imagined it might be something more. I don't understand any of this, she admitted, her voice smaller now. I came here for a job. I did not ask for any of this. I know, Damon said, his voice softening, and I am not asking you to understand it all tonight. But I cannot let you walk out that door and pretend this did not happen, not when I have waited over a decade to feel what I am feeling right now. The following morning, word spread through the estate like wildfire. A servant girl had been moved from the lower quarters into the private wing of the manor, on the direct order of the Alpha King himself. Whispers followed Elena everywhere she walked, some curious, some resentful, and a few openly hostile. The Pack Council was the most furious of all. Damon had been engaged, for the sake of political stability, to Seraphine Cade, daughter of a neighboring pack leader. The arrangement had taken months to negotiate, and was meant to secure peace between two territories that had a long and complicated history of conflict. Damon summoned the council that same afternoon, and, without hesitation, announced that the engagement was over. You cannot simply cancel it, argued Councilman Rourke, his face flushed with anger. Do you understand what this means for our borders? For our people? I understand exactly what it means, Damon replied, his voice calm but unyielding. And I understand what refusing my mate would mean as well. I will not build peace on a lie. She is a servant, another council member snapped. A human servant, as far as anyone can tell. This is madness. She is more than that, Damon said. And soon, all of you will see it too. Elena, standing quietly near the back of the room, where Damon had asked her to wait, felt the weight of every disapproving stare. She wanted to disappear, to return to her simple life of folded towels and quiet corners, away from politics and thrones and titles she did not understand. But every time she looked at Damon, she saw something that unsettled her in a way she could not quite name. Not fear exactly. Something closer to recognition, faint and flickering, like a memory trying to surface. Over the following days, Elena began asking questions of the older staff, particularly a kind, gray-haired cook named Martha, who had worked at Frostmoor for decades and seemed to know more than she let on. You have her eyes, Martha said one evening, watching Elena peel vegetables with hands still unused to kitchen work. Your mother's eyes, I mean. Elena's hands stilled. You knew my mother. Martha hesitated, glancing toward the door as if checking for anyone listening. She worked here once, many years ago, before you were born. She left suddenly, in the middle of the night, and no one ever spoke of her again. It was as if she vanished. Why would she leave like that? I do not know the full story, Martha admitted. But I remember she was pack-born, from a smaller bloodline that kept to itself. Quiet people, careful people. She fell in love with someone she should not have, or so the rumors said, and disappeared before anyone could stop her. Elena felt her chest tighten. Pieces were falling into place, slowly, painfully, forming a picture she was not sure she was ready to see. If her mother had truly been pack-born, then everything Damon said about her blood, about the dormant nature hidden inside her, might actually be true. That night, she found Damon standing on the balcony outside his chambers, staring out over the moonlit grounds. She approached quietly, and he turned before she even said a word, as if he had sensed her presence the moment she stepped outside. I spoke to Martha, Elena said. About my mother. Damon listened patiently as she recounted everything, his expression unreadable but attentive. It matches, he said finally. The dormant bloodlines rarely announce themselves loudly. Sometimes it takes a true mate bond to wake them fully. That may be exactly what is happening to you now. I still feel human, Elena admitted. I still feel like myself, just confused. That is enough for now, Damon said gently. You do not have to become anything overnight. I only ask that you do not run from this. From us. She looked at him for a long moment, searching his face for the arrogance she had expected from a king, the coldness the rumors had promised. Instead, she found something surprisingly vulnerable, a man who had spent years ruling with an iron grip, only to be undone completely by a servant girl who had walked through the wrong door. "I am not running," she said quietly. "Not yet, at least." It was the closest thing to hope either of them had allowed themselves to feel. But peace, as always, came with a price. Word of the broken engagement reached Seraphine's pack within days, and their response was immediate and furious. An envoy arrived at the Frostmoor gates demanding an explanation, accusing Daemon of insulting their pack's honor and threatening consequences if the matter was not resolved. Daemon's second-in-command, a steady, battle-worn wolf named Callan, warned him plainly, "They will not let this go quietly. You have humiliated their daughter in front of every pack leader in the region. If you do not offer something in return, this could mean war." "I will not offer Elena as a sacrifice to keep peace," Daemon said firmly. "I am not suggesting that," Callan replied. "But you need to show strength, not just defiance. If she is truly your mate, you must claim her publicly, fully, in front of everyone. Half measures will only make you look weak, and weakness invites attack." Daemon knew Callan was right. A private declaration in his chambers meant nothing to the outside world. If he wanted to protect Elena, protect his pack, and protect the fragile peace they had all worked so hard to build, he needed to do something undeniable. The following evening, the great hall of Frostmoor was filled with pack leaders, council members, and curious onlookers, summoned under the pretense of a formal announcement. Elena stood at the edge of the room, her heart pounding, unsure of what was about to happen, until Daemon walked directly to her and took her hand in front of everyone present. "Many of you have questioned my decision these past days," Daemon said, his voice carrying easily across the silent hall. "Some of you have called it foolish, reckless, but I did not choose this. Fate chose it for me, the way it has chosen for wolves before us since the beginning of our kind." He turned to Elena, his gaze steady and sure. "I claim Elena Voss as my mate, before this council, before every pack represented here tonight. Whatever consequences come from this decision, I will face them, because I refuse to build my future on a lie." A tense silence followed, broken only by murmurs rippling through the crowd. Elena felt every eye in the room on her, but for the first time since stepping through that fateful door, she did not feel like running away. She felt something steadier, beginning to take root inside her, something that felt, unmistakably, like belonging. Just as the murmurs began to settle, the great doors at the far end of the hall opened, and a formal envoy from Seraphine's pack stepped inside, their expressions unreadable, their purpose unknown. The room fell silent again, tension thick enough to touch. Daemon squeezed Elena's hand gently, a silent promise that whatever came next, they would face it together. Elena squeezed back, and for the first time, she was not just the girl who had wandered into the wrong room by mistake. She was exactly where she was meant to be.